What happens when an all-star cavalcade of DC writers come together to celebrate the Dark Knight's big day? Well, you get Detective Comics issue number 1100, another milestone in the history of Batman. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop in and find out together, shall we? So then, our first story in this collection comes courtesy of Tom Taylor. And as you may have noticed, it's a completely dialogue-less affair. We're introduced to a young boy putting up signs for his missing dog, Buster. Though the kid's search ends up getting interrupted by Batman, who chases down a criminal and takes him out right in front of the frightened kid and his mom. This ends up being quite the fortuitous meeting because not only does the kid recognize Batman, but Batman also recognizes the kid's poster. And even though Batman is probably very busy with lots of other important superhero work across Gotham, he decides to step on in and help the kid. He even protects him from getting taken out by a truck as he draws a chalk bat symbol to try and get the Dark Knight's attention. It's also here we discover why the story actually has no dialogue. Turns out this kid is deaf, and for the rest of the issue actually makes use of American Sign Language. It's fun too because that just so happens to be yet another discipline that Batman has mastered right next to the kung fu and the chemistry. As the kid explains, he was playing with Buster one day when a group of thugs showed up out of the blue and grabbed him. Wow, how is it in a city filled with killer clowns, mad scientists, and multiple different death cults, somehow these three thugs here are just the worst? Now, when it comes to hunting down the missing pug, Batman doesn't have to work alone, as he actually ends up enlisting the help of Ace the Bat Hound. Yeah, it's been a hot minute since we've seen him, and Crypto is getting all the love over in the Superman books. Crypto gets Buster's scent and is able to trace it back to a tenement building where the thugs have set up shop. We don't actually know what these guys were doing with the dog, if they were running a dog fighting ring or if they just got high and thought it was a good idea. Either way, Batman and Ace make short work of these guys and return a grateful Buster to his owner. In fact, the kid is so grateful he tries to give Batman the whole $6 that he managed to raise for reward money. Naturally, Batman refuses but accepts a hug instead, and oh man, this is the kind of Batman I like that doesn't get near as much play anymore. The Bat Dad, the Batman who is friend to children everywhere. In fact, just to really hit that idea home as this story comes to a close, we see there's a whole wall in the Bat Cave that Bruce has set up in honor of all the missing pets that him and Ace have found over the years, and the wall is pretty substantial. Now, the next story in this collection is a Mariko Tamaki one, and it takes place on a couple levels. On one hand, Bruce is attending a gala ball honoring the local heroes of Gotham, and on the other, he as Batman is stopping another Joker rampage throughout the city. The idea being that these two stories reflect each other in ways you wouldn't expect. Bruce gets sat at a table with an independent journalist who starts raking him over the coals for his very existence, basically assuming that if Bruce is here, it's because he bought his way into this party and he probably bought an award for himself to make himself feel better. One that he didn't actually deserve because the ultra-rich are never the real heroes. This story is also notable too because it features Batman on his bat cycle doing that whole Akira slide thing, and you know I'm a sucker for that. Now, when they hand out the big award for the evening, Bruce surprisingly doesn't win, but the woman he saved from almost drowning when her car got knocked into the water by the Joker actually does. The journalist remains smug too, basically saying, guess you didn't give a big enough donation to the gala to actually win. I hope you know I'm running for city council soon and I'm planning to make life hell for you and the rest of the CEO class. And Bruce actually ends up taking this one on the chin with good humor, saying, yeah, you know what, I hope you do. Now, the third story in this collection is by far my favorite. It's a Greg Rucka joint, and while it plays to all of his strengths, I also cannot help but shake the feeling that he too probably watched and loved that new HBO show The Pit as well. You see, this story takes place at Gotham General. We're introduced to a brand new doctor by the name of Evans who has moved here from Gateway City not that long ago, and she's having a hard time wrapping her mind around how the hell all these medical professionals deal with Batman. I mean, every night he sends in multiple concussion victims with lacerations, tibula injuries. It's like they spend half their time just sewing up all the thugs who had the poor fortune of running afoul of Batman. Oh, sure, he's a hero and everyone in the city loves him now, but it's only a matter of time before he actually kills somebody, right? And when that happens, surely the worm will turn and it'll be a problem for everyone, right? It's the senior doctor who actually ends up sharing some really important insight that could only be gained from a lifetime of practicing medicine in Gotham. As this doctor explains, when she started as a medical student, they used to call the night shift at Gotham Central the Knife and Gun Club, mainly because they dealt with so many goddamn fatalities, and not just criminals killing other criminals, but the poor people who end ended up getting caught in the crossfire or were otherwise victimized. The cops were no help. In fact, they sent many to the morgue themselves because they are the biggest gang of all, aren't they? But all of that changed though when Batman came to town. Yeah, they deal with a lot of injuries, but no one has actually died, and all of those people who are held up in hospitals certainly won't be hurting anyone else ever again, or at the very least not for that night, to say nothing of all the regular old victims who wouldn't be alive at all if not for Batman. Evan slowly but surely ends up changing her tune, and as this story comes to a close, we see that this senior doctor is actually going out of her way to patch Batman up after a hard night of crime fighting. Which basically means the whole time that this lady has been trying to make a case for Batman's good to this new young doctor, she's also been making it to Batman directly, who's been waiting in the wings. I like stories like this because it's cool to see the effect Batman has on the other first responders who aren't just the police. Now, the last story in this collection comes to us courtesy of Dan Waters. It's called The Fall, and it's by far the artsiest of all the stories in this collection. The long and short of it is Batman corners a hardened killer on top of a tall building, and instead of facing justice, this guy decides he'd rather test his luck jumping over the side. And the rest of the story is basically a painstaking anatomy of how Batman manages to throw himself off such high heights but not actually die. The whole thing's done in this really moody, dark, jagged art style too that makes me think this is like some sort of twisted future. And yeah, that's basically all there is to say about that one. And so that was Detective Comics number 1100, everybody, and ultimately I thought this was a pretty fun, pretty enjoyable collection of stories. None of them I would say were life-changing or ones that you absolutely have to read, but if you're fans of these writers, I think you're going to enjoy what they brought to the table. It's certainly an eclect of Batman stories that show him in very different lights. And again, that's one of the big reasons I like Batman so much. He can be so much more than just one thing. He can be so many things to so many different peoples, and he can tell a Batman story in just about every sort of way there is. Hell, you don't even need words sometimes. Overall, I would give this one a very positive 7.5 out of 10. As far as collections and milestone issues go, this one was a pretty good one. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.